So let's talk about the steps that you can take if you find these on clearance and you bring them home into your garden, and it's really a lot simpler than you think. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome to you as well. Today I'm excited because we're going to show you how to take a clearance plant and turn it into something beautiful and just teeming with color over time. Now, a couple weeks ago, I was at my local garden center, and in this case, it happened to be Lowe's, which is a chain here in the US. And I found this beautiful arrangement of Proven Winners annuals. It has petunia, it has verbena, it has some beautiful grass in the center. And I think that over the past 2 weeks that I've had this, it's really starting to come alive. And I did some very, very simple steps once I purchased it that helped it get to where it is today. Now, recently, just a couple days ago, I found the same arrangement at a different Lowe's, and I went ahead and purchased it because they were on sale for 75% off, which, I mean, 75% off of an arrangement that's pre-made like this is an incredible deal. And I could tell it looks a little bit spindly, definitely super leggy. And I knew that this would be a great specimen to try to bring back for sure. So we're going to talk about the plants that are in these things. We're going to talk about what I do to care for them. And then you're going to see at the very end how absolutely beautiful these are. And you would never know that they were originally purchased on clearance. So these were originally marked at $44.95, and by the time I got them on clearance at 75% off, they were just a little over $11. And to me, I mean, $11 compared to $44, that fits into anybody's budget for sure. So it doesn't take too much to care for these, and it doesn't take very much of an investment at all. It just takes time and patience and a little bit of prep before we get started on how to transform these into their beautiful potential that they will become. Now, the combinations that were selected for these containers were the Blind Love recipe that is you can find on the Proven Winners website, and it's absolutely beautiful. They just need a little bit of love to make sure that they can rejuvenate themselves back to their full potential, like I was saying before. So let's talk about the steps that you can take if you find these on clearance and you bring them home into your garden, and it's really a lot simpler than you think. So the first step that I like to take when I get these plants home, and this is what I did with this plant down here, is to trim off all of the extra leggy growth because it really isn't doing the plant any good. And this way the plant can focus its energy on creating more growth from the center, and it can start to develop a really tight growth habit, and it can kind of relax from trying to send out its energy to all of these really long leaves that are really not necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to come around. I'm going to trim it pretty much close to the rim of the pot. And like I was going to say, this branch, if you can see this closely, really isn't doing the plant any good at all. So those kind of things like that, they need to go right away. And it really does give it a kickstart in that the plant will start to push that growth from the center. And I can kind of tell that this area that's most inward in the pot is starting to branch out. And I'll show you what that looks like right now. So as you can tell, we have this long leggy area right about here. And all of that needs to come off. But I have this really nice branching that's starting to happen right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the snips or the clippers, and I'm going to clip right underneath that, cutting all that off. This way, all of this area that is pushing growth right in here can start to develop and really get healthy and strong. All right, so I'm going to continue to cut around the rim of the top of the container, looking for those growth sprouts to cut back. And it's not even difficult at all. In fact, I could probably break these off with my fingers, but I always like to get a really nice clean cut. So I always want to make sure to use either snips or some clippers. So let's continue to go through here and trim these back. And even though some of these branches have started to push even more growth along the ends, it's not going to be necessary to keep those on there because there's a lot of plant branching inside the interior of the pot that can also sprout out as well. And there's plenty of that already going on. So just going to continue to go through here. Yeah, all of this branching is really not healthy at all. And the plant will rebound beautifully. And I'm sure for some of you, you're totally used to doing this already, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've gone to those garden centers and looked for those clearance prices and brought plants home and had huge success. But it's something that I haven't really talked about too much in any of my videos, and I thought, you know what, we're going to look at that because everything right now is really expensive. Things have gone up everywhere, and so if I can inspire some of you to go down to your local retail center and purchase one of these plants and give you the steps on how to do that, then you're going to benefit in the end because it saves you some money. All right, already that's looking so much better. I trimmed off, it seems like it's a lot, but it's really only a stack about this big, and it's not going to even miss it, like I was saying. So let's talk about the next step. So the next thing that I do when I'm trying to rejuvenate these plants after I trim them is give them a little bit of fertilizer, slow release fertilizer. In this case, the organic plant tone I found is exceptional. If you have flower tone or biotone, plant tone, any of those will be just fine. And anything that is kind of slow release on top will be great. Proven Winner slow release fertilizer will be great as well. So I just take a little bit of that, and it gives it a little bit of substance as the plant, is looking for that nutrients to kind of rebound, and it gives it that long-lasting nutrients that'll slowly feed the plant over time, because these plants are in containers, and if we don't give them the nutrients that they need to be successful, then very often they turn out just like this plant looked like originally when I purchased it on clearance. So fertilizing is hugely important, because whenever we water them, that nutrients just leaches out. Unlike plants that are in the ground that can be sustained for much longer with just a little bit of fertilizer or nutrients or food, these will not be able to sustain themselves in the same way. So a little bit of that plant tone will last them probably about 2 months or so, or even more. So I start with that. Then after that, I get my watering can and use the Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer, which is great because this is especially formulated for the Proven Winners varieties, and it can be used on any variety of annual or perennial, especially the heavy feeders like these plants are. And so this will give them a zap of nutrients immediately that will hopefully start to rejuvenate the plant quickly. So I take that, and unlike when I received my annuals via mail in their pots, where I gave them a half dose, since these are already established in their containers, I'm just going to give the full dose as Proven Winners recommends, which are 2 of the capfuls per 2 gallons, and that will be fantastic. And I'm going to do that once a week all the way through the season. Now, I'm going to fill this with water, show you how easy it is, and then we'll move on. I'm just going to take my watering can, now that it's been fully mixed in here with the 2 gallons, and give it a nice dousing all the way around the entire perimeter of the container, and really allow that to soak all the way down in, and hopefully some of that slow release in there, the espoma plant tone that I put in, will get washed off the leaves and end up down by the base of or the top of the soil. Do the same thing to this one down here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump ahead a couple weeks and show you how they look after just those simple steps that I took today. Take a look. Okay, everybody, it's been about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and already you can tell there is a major difference with both of these containers, and I couldn't be happier with the results. For instance, the one here on the top is the most recent purchase, and it looked absolutely the worst in that last clip that I just showed you a few moments ago. And I think the biggest benefit of trimming off that leggy growth is that it is in fact pushing blooms and new growth, like I had talked about, from the center of the plant. And once it no longer had to send the energy to those leggy branchings, this is looking so much better. And here's a little bit close up. I mean, look at how those branches are just filled with other branchings that's coming from the center of the plant itself, and also the buds that you can start to see develop all over the place. I mean, to me, guys, this is a huge win, not only because it's getting a lot more full from the middle and that tight compact growth is what we want to see. I mean, you can tell it's healthy because of the color of the foliage. It's beautiful emerald green, not only the verbena, but also the supertunias and the grass in the center. So I'm really, really excited to see how this is going to look in a number of weeks. And if it looks this good after that short amount of time, it's definitely worth it to continue what we're doing here. Now, this one down here in front of me, obviously it's a little bit further ahead because I had purchased this one before this one. And it was blooming and looking great last time, but we have even more blooms and it's more full from the center than it was last time, cascading over, and you can really start to see all three of those annuals blooming beautifully together. You have the Superbena whiteout and the beautiful pink and white from the lovey-dovey, and also the royal magenta, which kind of ties all of these beautiful colors together. So we'll see what these things look like in a couple of weeks, and the magic of video will allow us to do that right now. So let's take a look ahead at what this is going to look like, and this one in 2 weeks. Here we go. The growth is amazing. You can tell how this one is starting to bloom like crazy. You have some of that lovey-dovey there, and then what I was really surprised about, which I didn't know would survive originally, is the beautiful royal magenta, looking beautiful. And now also the Superbena whiteout is opening up, and it's really just completely full of green foliage, and so many blooms are ready to start setting on each one of these stems, which is really cool to see that. And I think, man, it looks so amazing. You would never be able to tell that this was a big hot mess looking really sickly just about a month ago now. All right, guys, it's the final update, and boy, do they look beautiful. I mean, they are just completely full of blooms, filled out beautifully, extremely emerald green, and just full of color. And you would never even have known that these two arrangements were clearance items just a little under 2 months ago. And the really cool thing about this is that I like to say, sometimes when we think about putting arrangements in our backyard, they do come with a little bit of extra work in that we have to find the annuals, put them together, buy the soil, and arrange them and pot them up. But not everybody is able to do that, nor do they have the time for it. So the cool thing about these two is they were already pre-made, and they just happen to be on clearance at 75% off the original price. And I think that's something that no one can argue with. That is a great deal indeed. So all three of those annuals are really stunning in these two arrangements, and I love the color combination. I probably would have never thought to put these colors together, but it does make sense because each one of those flowers contains a quality of the other flower, like the white and the magenta color in the lovey-dovey is again mirrored in the Superbena whiteout, and then also the royal magenta. So I do love that, and it makes sense for sure. This is really coming along great. It's grown immensely over this last week. I just love seeing that. But this one down here, that's about a week and a half further along than this one, is really, really stunning. And each one of those annuals are really showing through. And I love how this beautiful whiteout verbena is kind of like intermixed all over, and it's really nicely balanced. The Supertunia royal magenta is really coming forward, and it's really showing in the back here that you can't see, and it's showing in the front as well. And I think it is just so pretty, and they're looking great. And really, when you think about it this way, it really was super simple to turn those arrangements into the amazing showcase pieces that they've turned into here. So let's review the steps that I took in order to take those scraggly clearance items and turn them into showpieces like this. And really, it was super simple. I trimmed them back up to the top of the pot, cutting off any of those leggy limbs, which helped each of the plant push forth more productive growth from the center, which really made them stand out, I think, in the end. Then I kept them watered. In the beginning, it was every other day, but as they're growing a little bit more and there's a lot more energy and water that is needed, I've been watering them every day because it's getting a little bit warmer here, and they do require that. They dry out pretty quickly because the reservoir isn't very large, so I do water them every day. And then I gave them a little bit of that plant tone fertilizer to give them some kind of slow release that'll last them a number of weeks, and that will continue to give each of these plants the nutrients that they need over time. But the really jolt of energy that really has helped them, I'm sure, is the water soluble fertilizer that I've been giving them once a week. You can give it to them, they say, every single time, but that's using your product up really quickly. And I don't think it's necessary, actually. So I think once a week has been perfect, and you can see the result of doing that right here in front of us. Absolutely beautiful, guys. You can definitely do this, and the best part about it is they were clearance, and I didn't have to plant them up, and all I did was give them a little bit of love, and this is the result. So we hope you enjoyed today's video of our beautiful clearance arrangements here and their progress over time. And also know that you can absolutely do this in your garden. All you need is that eye for that clearance rack, and then a little bit of TLC and some care along the way, and you can definitely do just what I did here over the past 2 months. Until next time, everybody, thank you again for watching. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye now.